Everyone. Today I'm going to talk about assignment 2. As you probably noticed, for the assignments I'm not strict about your answers, and it's okay to have some errors because we are trying to learn through these assignments, and it's important for me to see that you're active throughout the semester, and that's the aim of the assignments. But these assignments are also useful so that when we want to deal with midterm and final exam, and it makes us ready for them. So let me go through them like the way I'm trying to grade your midterm and final exam. So let's say, for example, you see this question, final exam, and I ask you to provide me the complete solution for them. So let's go through them one by one, and let's see how we can deal with them. In the first question, I've given two strings, and I didn't say, for example, what's the size of it. Whenever you see 3 dots at the end of your sequence, it means that it continues. And sometimes it's finite, and I tell you exactly, for example, this is your string and that's it. So whenever you see 3 dots, it means that it continues. So we have these two strings, and I've given you some information about their scores of alignment. And the gap penalty, we can consider -8 for all of the gap penalties. Now the question is to calculate these cells inside your metrics. And which metrics we are talking about? We want to use dynamic programming. So this is the approach that we should take. And this is for global sequence alignment. As you know, there's a little difference, and in the second question, you will see that. So this table actually is given to you for the first row and first column. So we don't need to calculate them from the beginning. It's already given to you. The only thing is to calculate these 4 cells. So how to calculate this one? What you should do is to provide this formula. These two actually are for the first column and first row. If you include it, it's okay. You can always mention about these 3 as the relations that we use for dynamic programming. That's fine. But this is the one that we are using now. So whenever you want to provide the answer, when you say F11, for example, then assign the numbers, the values here, so that we understand that how you insert the values and what you are calculating here. So if I see, if I look at this solution, I wouldn't say this is a complete solution just because of that. That's why we should also show that part as well. I mean, for example, F11 means F10. So when you write, for example, -8, now I understand this is related to F10. What is F10? This one we are talking about. This is position 0, this is position 1, and the column 0. So 1, 0, this is -8. Plus, this one is actually the scoring of the gap with the letter. So in that scenario, you know that this one should be penalized as -8. So whenever you see the penalty for the gaps, you consider -8. So here we have -8 plus -8, which is -16. For the next one, again, gap penalty, which is -8. Sorry, this one, -8 and plus 0, 1. Which one is 0, 1? 0 row and 1 column, which is -4. So -4 plus -8, we have -20. Sorry, -12. And for the third component, look at the formula again, assign the values here inside it, which is 0, 0, which is here in this table the position of the 0th row and 0th column, which is 0. So it will be 0. And this one, score of aligning AI with BJ, which is 1, 1. For 1, 1, we have pH position. Well, what's the value of that? It's already given to you. pH is -2. Okay, that's why the information we have given you here is important to use in order to find finally this value. So as soon as you come up with these 3 values, the maximum number of them will be the final answer for this cell, which is 1, 1. Here, this is -2, and you include this one. So the next cell that you can solve is either this one or this one, because you have the information about the neighbors, right? The neighbor on above, on diagonal, and on the left side. If you have these values, then you can calculate the rest of them and complete your table. So it's pretty easy to calculate them. It needs a little practice, and just remember, always provide the formula and always assign the values, then write me this part, and it will be okay. It will be considered as a complete solution. Because in the midterm and final exam, as you know, this is the take-home exam. The duration is about 24 hours. So in that scenario, we expect you to be careful about everything, because even just a little error can decrease lots of points from you. And even just a simple calculation, like for example here, by accident, for example, you write -16 here instead of -2. Again, we will have some decreasing for your grades. That's why for midterm and final, please be very careful. In the assignments, of course, we are practicing together, but in the midterm and final, I expect you to have perfect answer, because you have 24 hours to double check your answer again and again. For example, in the last semester, we even had one calculation problem, like 2 plus 2, for example. Someone says, for example, it's equal to 0 instead of 4, then we decrease points just because of that. So that's why I'm telling you from now to be careful about those things, because it's really painful to lose points because of that. So next one, this is pretty much the same question like the first one, just we ask it for local sequence alignment. Whenever you see the local case of dynamic programming, right away you understand the first row and first column are equal to 0. You don't need to calculate them. Inside the formula, you can see they are equal to 0. So even if I don't give you this information, you know they are equal to 0 anyway. And what's the difference between local sequence alignment and the global one? The thing is that inside this formula, should also include 0 as a fourth component. It means that if the final answer is negative, then you consider 0 instead of -1. So you see inside this formula, you have included 0 as one of the components which you should compare with other ones. And as you can see, if all of them are negative, so the maximum of them will be 0 in this scenario. And it happened in this example that all of them became 0. Maybe next cells it won't be the same story, but here it happened to be so. So if you want to provide the complete answer, remember to include assigning numbers, like writing F10 plus S. What's the letter we are looking for here? You should assign every values and then provide me the next ones, okay? So let's move on to the last question. Okay. Answer the following questions using the provided table based on dynamic program of local sequence alignment. So when we say local sequence alignment, it means that not necessarily I start my tracing back from the endpoint here. The maximum number that I can find in the table. Anyway, it's given to you here in the table anyway. We showed you one example, like this path. Okay, what's the question? Some cells inside the table are highlighted to show us a suggested path for aligning the given sequences. Use the highlighted path to write the sequence alignment. Okay, it's pretty easy. So it means that by just looking at the table, I want you guys to provide me the suggested alignment. So in order to do that, start from the optimum point, as they call it. Optimal point, it's, as I said, it's not that much accurate call it, but they usually call it in dynamic programming anyway, which is the maximum value of this table for the sequence, for the local sequence alignment. Because if I started from here, I would get different alignment. In order to have a standard in our course, let's always use the traceback format so that we won't have other solutions for the same path, okay? So always, whenever the table is given to you, let's apply the tracing back and then write your answer accordingly. So if this is my initial point, then I would align F with F. And this is diagonal case. It means that, again, I'm aligning one letter with another. So E aligned with E. Again, the same situation here. Again, we went to the diagonal. So L with L. But here, instead of choosing 2, they suggested to choose this one. Whenever you go up or to the left side, it means that we are facing a gap. So the gap is related to this sequence or this one? That's the question. So here, as you can see, if I choose this cell, it means that I moved on from this L to this one. So there's no gap here. But here, for this one, I stayed in the same row. So it showed me that for this sequence, I applied a gap. And then for the next one, again, I went to diagonal and we aligned with L. So the answer should be like this. In the second sequence, I applied the gap, not the first one. Okay, but if you consider it from starting from here, you may get different answer. So in order to have the unique answer for all of us, let's start from the optimal point and trace back to point. Okay, so the part B asked about suggest another sequence alignment for the given sequences which is different from the highlighted ones. So let's see. For example, I start from here. I can choose even this one because it has higher value. And when I look at these two letters, I see they are similar. And I usually prefer to go in diagonal format. Not always this is true. Maybe this one will be better. For example, you could choose this one and go diagonally like that. But let's choose this one. And then you can see this is maximum, so I choose this one again. These two are exactly the same, but whenever they are the same, I usually prefer to go in the diagonal format. And again, here 4 is the maximum between 3, 3, and 4, so I choose this one. So everything I can consider in diagonal format. So when this is the case, it means that we don't have any gaps. Yes, this one is true. I can suggest this one as a possible path to use, which is actually better than the first one, as you can see. Here we have one mismatch. Here we have a gap penalty, which is a new gap penalty. So it depends. Sometimes in your algorithm, maybe a mismatch has a higher penalty than a gap penalty. If that's the case, maybe part A is preferred. But usually by just looking at it, I would suggest that part B sounds much better. Okay, guys, so it was related to the second assignment. If you have any questions, please let me know. In the next week, we will practice with suffix trees and suffix arrays. And also we start our multiple alignment topic and profiles related to them. So please, if you have any questions, let me know.